Okay, welcome. We are having some technical issues, so I think that we are starting now. So welcome everybody to the webinar Global Sustainability Science. I'm sorry that we are starting a little bit later. We had some technical issues with the webinar, but I think this is solved now. So thank you for hanging in there with us, and we will start now. So my name is Karen Rebel. I'm an associate professor in environmental sciences, and I teach in the program Global Sustainability Science. And next to me is Anna. Anna, would you like to introduce yourself?
Yes, hi everybody. My name is Anna, as already said. I'm a third year student and I come from Argentina.
Yes, and together we will do the webinar, and we will go over some of the content and more information about global sustainability science. But you can also type in your questions in the chat box below. And there are also a couple of students. So that is Plamena from Bulgaria, Isa, she's Dutch, and Kristen from the US, and also Katarina, and she's from the Student Information Geosciences. So if you have questions, you can type them in, and there will also be a question and answer session afterwards. So then again, type in your questions and we will answer them after the webinar. So in the chat box below, you can type your questions. Okay, so let's start then with the webinar itself. So global sustainability science is about the interactions between humans and the environment across scales. And there are multiple challenges that we currently face when we think about sustainability. And one, for instance, is fresh water. Fresh water that we all use as drinking water and for irrigation of crops, for instance. That is not evenly distributed across the world. So there's areas where we have ample of water available, but also areas with a lot of water scarcity. And with climate change, for instance, the distribution of fresh water will be even more skewed. Another thing that we can think of is that in the next 10 years, over 70% of the population will live in cities. And that really brings challenges along, like how do you feed that number of people that are all living in the city? Can we produce some of that food within the city? And how do we deal with the waste that they produce? And with the increasing population, we're also more and more using energy, and currently still mainly in the form of fossil fuels. And so that is causing climate change. And of course, there the big challenge is to keep the temperature below 2 degrees, as most of you probably heard with all the recent IPCC reports, and that has been in the news quite a bit. Can we keep the temperature below 2 degrees or even at 1.5 degrees? And when we think about these challenges, some of these solutions to the challenges, for instance, when we think of climate change, mitigation of climate change, so reducing the use of fossil fuels, has its challenges on its own. And one example of that is the use of biofuel. So let's look a little bit more into the use of biofuel. So with biofuel, when we are producing biofuel, this is often done in the tropics and in the semi-tropics, and there it's competing with the native biodiversity. So when we are cutting a forest that is there and we are going to produce biofuels, then there's a large reduction in biodiversity, but there's also a change in, for instance, the water use and also nutrients that sometimes are added for these biofuels. So from that perspective, you can look at biofuels from a water, climate, and ecosystems perspective. You can also look at this from a perspective of energy and resources. If we look at the total amount of CO2 that is being produced by biofuels or by fossil fuels or in other forms of production of energy, for instance, solar panels, what are the needs of energy now and into the future, but also how much CO2 do they produce? So that is energy and resources. Then we can also look at this from a governance and societal transformation perspective. So when we use biofuels, we see more and more, so that is produced not here, but in the tropics often, and there we have local governance And of course, there it brings jobs, so people are pretty happy with the production of biofuels. But we also want it to be produced sustainable, and we see more and more something that we call private governance. Is that we demand biofuels that are being produced in a sustainable way. And the last way that we can look at this is from a business and innovation perspective. So at a certain point, there was a business case to be made that biofuels were being produced. And you can also look at this and also the innovation that is needed in order to use that biofuel. For instance, innovation in the cars, that we can actually drive our cars using a biofuel. So from this, you see that something like a mitigation technique, biofuel, you cannot look at this from one perspective. You need, if you look at such a challenge, you need to look at this in what we call an interdisciplinary way. And that, so the four different perspectives that I just said, those is, if you combine that, that's an interdisciplinary way of looking at those biofuels. And this is also what the program is about. The whole program is about sustainability challenges and looking at solutions to these challenges using an interdisciplinary approach. So global sustainability science, why would you study this in Utrecht? Well, first of all, it is taught, and most of the teachers of this program are from the Copernicus Institute of Sustainable Development, which in 2014 was rated as the best research institute on sustainability in the Netherlands. And we also have this interdisciplinary approach in our research. So the research and the teaching is really connected. And I think this is a very important component of our program. Also, we think that sustainability is not something Dutch or another country. This is something that is global. And therefore, we are really happy that our program is international and that we invite students from across the world to participate in our program. And therefore, it's also taught in English. You can also study abroad for a maximum of 6 months, and this is often done in the last part of your program. So the program is 3 years, and in the last year, there is a possibility for you to go abroad. And we also have very innovative education. So besides us lecturing, and you do in a large lecture room, we also have tutorials, practicals, where you, for instance, do computer practicals. But we also have other things like gaming. For instance, we just developed a very interesting sustainability game that will get you acquainted with Sustainable Development Goals of the United Nations. So there's multiple ways that we teach, and a lot of that we also really focus there on the innovation in education. So the student profile, first I would like to mention that in order to participate in this program, to apply to this program, you need a high school degree. In Dutch, it's a VWO diploma or an international equivalent with mathematics A or B, and at least 2 out of these 4 subjects, biology, chemistry, physics, and economics. If you have a deficiency, there's also ways that you can handle that deficiency, but this is probably good to ask in a chat box. So, Anna, would you mind saying something about the student profile and how you see this also around you and the students that are part of this program?
Yeah, I really think a student profile for GSS mainly has to be with being able to or wanting to try to find a solution for 3 main sectors, and this is people, planet, and profit. There are the 3 P's of sustainability, and that is the first point: do something for people and environment. And also this already creates a thinking in the way of going beyond your limits, beyond your boundaries. As everybody knows already, I guess, sustainability is not stuck to one place. It's global. So you also have to have a really global mind to be able to create some solutions. And also the solutions are not right in front of you. So you also have to have that kind of mentality, or your You would like to think more outside the box, creative, innovative, and of course, working with international people, speaking English, for example, and trying to find ways or being interested not only in one subject, but taking in consideration that sustainability is a matter of a lot of factors. So maybe having some knowledge from science or mathematics is good, but also social sciences. So I think that's a really complete student
Yes.
profile.
Thank you. So if we look at the program of Global Sustainability Science, then we can divide them into major courses. These major courses everybody takes, and those are these courses here that you see in orange. There are 10 major courses. Then these yellow courses are major track courses, and you can choose out of 4 tracks. Those are also related to the example I just gave on the biofuel. So the first track is water, climate and ecosystems, energy and resources, governance and societal transformation, and business and innovation. And so there are 8 courses related to your track, and those you see here in yellow. And you can also do a free track, but then you have to ask permission to the Board of Examiners, because if you want to develop your own track, it needs to be a coherent set of courses. And so then you need to think about this and ask permission for this. And then there's the free elective courses. This is part of the Utrecht University model. So in each program within Utrecht University, you can have 6 courses that you can fill in the way that you want. So you can either do a minor or you can do 6 courses that are of your interest. And that could also be Spanish and history, for instance. But you can also do a minor in those free electives. You see that the major courses are concentrated in year 1, and this is because we want everybody to be at the same level after the first year, and then in the second year there are still 3 courses, and in the third year there's still 1 course. So what are those major courses? Well, basically we can group them into 3 different sets. There's courses around sustainability, there's courses around research, and then there's integration projects. So around sustainability, you will start with sustainability challenges. So really looking more in depth at what are the challenges that we are currently facing and what brought us here, because you need to know also a little bit about the history before you can go towards the future. It's also natural processes and socioeconomic processes, which is the basic of natural and social sciences that every student should know. So then you have the background in sustainability knowledge. The research, you start again in your first year with mathematics and systems analysis, because we think that this is an important way to integrate the different disciplines in a systems analysis way. Then you also have research skills, where you learn to develop a research question, but you also do some statistics, for instance. And then we have philosophy of science and ethics, because philosophy, I think, is very important, and ethics when we talk about sustainability. And then we have the integration projects. Every year, you will finish your year with an integration project. In the first year, this is a regional integration project. In the second year, this is a global integration project. And in the third year, it's a consultancy project. And there you really work together with all the disciplines to really apply your knowledge and the skills that you have gained in the courses so far to sustainability issues, to sustainability challenges, and really to try to solve some of these challenges. So Anna, can I ask you which one of these courses did you like best, or were you most intrigued by?
Yes, mainly I really like the sustainability project because it's something different than a normal course. You really have to get all your information possible, everything that you've been learning throughout the year, and put it on one project. And what it's most the important part is that you have contact with professionals, and that's the part I like because it's really putting the hands in the matter, and you have to be able to communicate and present, and yeah, you're in the world of the real sustainability.
Yeah, so it's actually nice to look perhaps a little bit further into these sustainability projects, so these
Yeah.
integration courses. We also call them capstone courses. Um, so the first one that we have in year one, so at the end of year one in period four, we have the regional integration project. And in this project, all students together go to the island Texel to look at sustainable islands. And here you really integrate both the quantitative and the qualitative skills that you have learned so far, and also, for instance, in research skills. We also learn to develop research questions, and you immediately are going to apply this in this regional integration project. Anna, would you mind telling your experience on this course?
Yeah, how to forget Texel. It's an amazing project where you go with the 150, 160, all of you, and you spend almost 10 days together and really working hard to help the municipality become autonomous or independent. No, dependent. No, wait, independent from energy use. And it's a really an interdisciplinary project because you work in a group of four and each one of you is from a different track. So you have people from the governance track or business and innovations and the energy use, and you need to work hard together to get the results that you're looking for.
Yeah, and so you all stay together at the island and you really
Yeah.
are applying what you learned so far.
Yeah. You really need to apply what we've been saying, the knowledge, the background knowledge of sustainability, involving the research skills that you gain throughout the year.
Yes, this is, I think we always hear very nice stories about all the students being in Texel.
Yeah.
So in the second year, there's also an integration project, and this is called the Global Integration Project. And in this course, you're really in depth going to look at the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals, but also how these are implemented across the different countries across the world. So actually there you're going to work together with policymakers in, I believe, over 32 different countries. Anna, can you say a little bit more about that?
Yeah, this one I've done it last year, so I have my memories are right on point. It was a really interesting project because it really showed me how changing or having one solution can open many doors. This can be positive or negative impacts in so many other perspectives. And this was really nice to be guided by a politician. And we were working with my group, for example, was working with the Ministry of Agriculture from Chile. And we were trying to analyze how could Chile become more sustainable. And it was a crazy project, giving a poster presentation in front of, I think there were 50 sustainability related professionals coming to see your project, and it was really nice to show what you've been working for.
Yes, and you have real personal interaction also, via Skype, etc.
We had 2 Skype meetings with this woman from Chile, and it was also a great experience to be Skyping with somebody from Chile that has so much information about what we actually wanted to know.
Yeah, and then this, you worked then in Chile, but there's like 32 different countries that are involved. So this is really a global integration project, I think.
Yeah, definitely.
And we have had very good evaluations on this course. Then in your third year, you're actually going to do a consultancy project. So this is where you are really going to interact with governmental and non-governmental organizations, also businesses, and they have real questions that you're going to answer with an interdisciplinary group. And one, for instance, is the Nature and Environmental Federation in Utrecht. It's a governmental organization. And their question was, can you give us strategies to stimulate sustainable agriculture in Utrecht province? So what the students did is that they first look at what is the current land use and what are the current practices with regards to sustainability, and who are the different actors involved if you want a transition towards sustainable agriculture. When they mapped this all, then they brought an advice to this environmental agency. And based on this advice, they actually made this their focal point. And they really tried to connect consumers and producers more. And also, we're going to highlight good practices. And they have been very enthusiastic about their working together with the students. Anna, you didn't yet take this course, but
Yeah.
did you hear perhaps something from other students about this course?
Yeah, I cannot talk from my perspective, but my friends that are older have told me this is a really nice sustainability project because you also get the chance to do a little bit of network. You really have the contact with business professionals, and you give them actual advice on how they could be more sustainable. And they are really grateful for this advice that you give them. And yeah, I'm really looking forward for this project, my last project.
Yes, and it's also interesting. We will get to that later with your future jobs, but also this is really also linking to some of your future careers, which, because some of you will probably start working in consultancy. So this is very much related to real practices for the future. I do want to mention that just before we continue, that there is a lot of questions about admissions, and that you're also welcome to write an email to admissionsoffice@uu.nl, and they will look at your personal situation and answer you back. So they're really quick at answering you back. And there you will really get a personal recommendation if you have questions about your admission, if you're eligible for admission. Okay, so let's look a little bit further at the study program. So as I said, you will choose between 4 different tracks. The first one is water, climate, and ecosystems. And there you really look at the consequences of global change for humans, animals, and plants. And when you go through the program in year 1 and 2, you have to take then in your first year chemistry of system Earth. And in year 2, it is global climate change and eco-hydrology. So these are the basic courses of this particular track. For energy and resources, which is about solutions for sustainable use of energy and materials, in your first year, you take physics of energy and transport, and in your second year, you take applied thermodynamics and energy conversions, and also global climate change, because global climate change is related to both water, climate, and ecosystems, but also to energy and resources. So you see that water, climate, and ecosystems is a little bit more chemistry related, while energy and resources is a little bit more physics related. Then we also have governance and societal transformation. This is about processes in society and affecting behavior of people and organizations. So this is affecting behavior towards the future. And in your first year, then you're going to take politics of the earth. And in your second year, you take policy evaluation and design and environmental law. And for the last track, business and innovation, this is about how technological applications contribute to economic development and innovation. And there in your first year, you take microeconomics, and in your second year, you take organization and innovation and economics of innovation. So these are a little bit more social science oriented, but I do want to say that all these tracks are also interdisciplinary. So while right now you might think that the first 2 tracks are really more natural sciences and the last 2 really more social sciences, in these more social science related tracks, there's also natural sciences, and also in the more natural sciences track, you are also getting more social sciences. So it's really the integration of disciplines is also part of your track. And in your third year, you can choose 3 out of 5 courses for each one of these tracks, and more information about those courses you can find on our website. Anna, which track are you choosing, and why did you choose that track?
I'm currently doing the business and innovations track. It was easy for me to say, okay, I'm not really good at chemistry or physics, so I better go to the social track, the more social tracks. And then I realized I actually wanted to do business and innovations because I really want to try to change the behavior of companies towards trying to be more sustainable rather than gaining extreme power or profit, because they sometimes get the power but don't really know where to put it, and they choose for going to countries with less legislation and abuse this or abuse the government. And I need to understand how they work and be innovative in my thinking to try to change the system for a better business world. Yeah.
And was it hard for you to choose between governance and societal transformation and business and innovation, or were you really intrigued to the business side?
Well, I was looking between the two quite a lot, and in my first year I did the first courses of both, but then I decided to go to business and innovations. Mostly because I think governance has more paperwork that needs to be done. And coming also from Argentina, it was I never saw the government as a really they are powerful, but it's so complicated and it can be so corrupt. But so I decided to try with business.
Yeah. It also, of course, very much dependent on your personal
your background and how you relate with
I do want to mention that so in your first year, because there you mainly take those general courses, you choose your track after the first year. I did mention that there's one course that you take in your first year related to your track, but you can also choose two, for instance. So then you still have the possibility to choose between one of those two tracks. Also, there is, because you can take in your free courses, your elective courses, you can also take a minor. So it's also possible, we see also that students do this, to combine two different tracks and to do one as a major and one as a minor. So some, for instance, do one more natural and one more social science related track, and then continue like that, and then combining two different tracks.
Yeah, definitely, yeah.
Okay, Anna, can I ask you to say a little bit more about the honors program and afterwards about your personal experience?
Yeah, my personal experience is not really big because I'm not doing the geoscience honors program, but I have a lot of friends that are doing it. And what I know from it, it's the extra academic challenge. You are gonna write a honors thesis, you have to take some courses and at honors level, which means you have to do one more project or have a more in-depth research. You have a really nice, each year you have a international honors trip where you get to have some fun, but also it's pointed towards the academic challenge, of course. And it's basically you have seminars instead of lectures, which is much more of a discussion. And each period there's one big subject that all the lectures are towards. And what is really nice of this honors program is that it's not only GSS or global sustainability science, but it's really geoscience. So you work with people and students from the whole faculty, and this means that it's people from nature sciences and innovations and geography. So it's really a broadening program.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then the transition to university lifestyle.
Yeah, this I can really talk about. So university is different from school, mainly because you have contact hours, but also a lot of self-study hours. So the contact hours are around 16 hours per week. And then you have, because it's a full-time program, it should be around also 20 hours of your own work. And this is because we work a lot with group projects. And these group projects need to be done by yourself, and this takes a lot of time. But also because of you having such your own, you need to organize yourself to have your own study hours. You have a lot of independency, but this doesn't mean that you don't get guidance. In your first year, you're gonna have lectures from the course coordinator, the bachelor coordinator, that will help you. That they help you choose. They will help you choose which tracks you want to do and show you how your 3 years were gonna look at. And also you will have a lot of guidance from mentors that are professors and also from the study advisor. And I just want to add that in the university for the Global Sustainability Project program, you have Storm, which is the study association, and they also provide a lot of guidance and a really nice network where you can ask for help if needed. Yeah. And a little bit of the life in Utrecht. I don't know if any of you have ever been here. I moved completely not knowing how it was, and it's, I think, one of the best cities to move in. It's such a vibrant and active city. It's a lot of students studying here, so you can imagine that there's always something happening in the city. There's a lot of festivals or parties going on, but as well a lot of lectures done by the municipality, and yeah, always something interesting. If you are more into sports, you also have a lot of opportunities to join a sport group or a gym. The university has its own gym, Olympus, and you can go to group sessions, and you have everything there, from hockey, football to yoga, Pilates, everything. And also, if you're more of a cultural or artistic personality, you also have Parnassos or
Parnassos,
yeah. My pronunciation in Dutch, maybe it's not so good. And they provide a lot of courses in, for example, singing or piano lessons. Yeah, so you have it's for this city is for everybody, to say so.
Yeah, and I see now, so it's a 10% student population out of all the inhabitants. So it's indeed very much a student city, but it's a really nice city to be in.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, so and then after the bachelor degree, so once you're done, what can you do afterwards? So most students continue with a master program. Some students will, for instance, work for a few years and then go on to a master program. But about 98% of the students continues with a master program. So we offer master programs that are related to global sustainability science and that you can follow afterwards. For instance, at the Copernicus Institute of Sustainable Development, we offer sustainable development, sustainable business and innovation, energy science, and water science and management. But of course, within Utrecht, within the Netherlands, and in the world, there are many other programs that you can follow. And we also see that our students really spread out over the world. So some choose to continue to stay with us for their masters, and some really choose to go international and to follow their program somewhere else. And what we do always advise you to do is when you about your second year, you really start looking at your master program and see what the entry requirements for your master program are, because it's important to also sometimes use your free electives so that you're admissible to the next program. So the programs that you see here, you can enter absolutely with global sustainability science. There's a lot of other masters that you can enter into, but some also have some entry requirements that you perhaps need to take 1 or 2 courses for before you are admitted there. So in your second year, start looking and prepare also for your continued education, I would say. Okay, so and then in what are you going to do afterwards? So when we look at where our students are going to, and then of course after the bachelor, most of them are going into a master. But when I take our master, for instance, sustainable development, which is very much related to our program, we see that students end up really in all different kinds of places. So we see them in governmental organizations, non-governmental organizations, in consultancies, but also in the universities where they start doing a PhD, for instance, and research. So just to give you an example, is that one of our students now works as a program specialist at the Food and Agricultural Organizations of the United Nations. But for instance, another one is a PhD student in the pharmaceutical industry at Utrecht University. So it is really broad, and this the different logos that you see is just kind of like to give you a taste for where our students going to. What we also see is that sustainability is really developing at the moment, and that there are all new sustainability jobs at businesses and also governmental and non-governmental organizations. And this that the job market is really also in development. So it's good to see where our current students are at, but it's also good to know that there's a lot of development and a lot of perspectives for you when you're interested in studying sustainability. I just would like to ask you, sorry,
No,
Anna.
it's fine. Yeah.
I would like to ask you if you know what you're going to do.
Yeah, I'm for sure doing a master after this year. And I think I'm gonna stay here in Utrecht University. I recently have a new place and I really like it, so I think I want to stay here for a couple of years more. And then I have the dream, to say so, to go back home, back to Argentina, and try to implement all or most of my knowledge into trying to help to be more sustainable over there. Yeah.
And do you know, are you interested then in governmental or non-governmental organizations, but you do business and innovation, so perhaps a startup or?
Yeah, maybe helping, maybe the connection between even governance and business, so that they have a mutual goal to work towards, and not just everybody doing what they think it's best.
Very nice.
Yeah.
And very good to already start thinking about this. Very good.
Yeah.
Okay, so then if you are interested in global sustainability science, how and when do you apply? This is very important because it's a selective program. There is limited enrollment, and every year there's a maximum of 160 students that are enrolled. So the deadline for applying is January 15th. And the selection day, once you apply, is on February 8th. And the selection consists of multiple things. So there's a test, a cognitive test on sustainability and systems analysis. And those you will do on the selection day. And if you are not in the Netherlands at that time, there is a possibility to do this also digital. Yeah. But everybody starts at the same time. So it's not possible to do it at a different time. So if you're not in our time zone, then either you need to wake up a little bit earlier or stay awake a little bit longer. Yeah. But it's also based on your motivation, on the grades of your high school, and on your CV. So when you apply, you're really going to fill in a form that is also related to your motivation, and your grades will be analyzed, and also your CV will be analyzed. The test on sustainability and systems analysis, we will send you the information once you have applied. So this consists of a package that you need to study. and then it's a test, a cognitive test that you will, so with questions related to the information that you studied, and this will be on the selection day. And so then we will select the first 160 based on both the test, but also on the motivation, the grades, and the CV. So one of the questions was if grades matter with the application, and yes, it does matter. But it's not the only thing that counts. So it's only a portion of of all the different aspects that are part of the application. Okay, so there's almost time for question and answer that we will discuss shortly. So if you do have further questions for us, please type them in. So right now I would like to mention just how can you, after this webinar, how can you contact us? Well, one thing you can do if you're interested but you want to know more is to come for an open day. There's an information fair, there's a cafe where you can talk with both the lecturers and the students. And there's a program for international students, and this is quickly already. This is on November 15 and 16. But also if you are not going to start this coming year, but next year, for instance, then on March 7th in 2020, there's also an open day. And it's always good if you have the possibility to come and to kind of also feel the atmosphere. I also think this is always quite important.
Yeah.
Were you able to visit for an open day?
No, I'm working now in the open days, but I've never visited one. And I think it's a really, it's a really nice opportunity to get the sense of the university because you are there, you attend one of the lecture halls where you can have more information, but you also have the opportunity to talk to professors and to students. So all your questions can be answered for sure.
And you can also look at our website. So here you see the website, www.uu.nl/bachelors/GSS. And there you can sign up for Student for a Day. And you can also there chat with our students and kind of feel the atmosphere. And you can also email to this email address for questions on the selection procedure. Or you can ask Anna any questions on the content of the bachelor. And then you use this email address. Good. So we will continue with a few questions that you gave us. So Noemi asked, what do we have to study for the test? And I think there's more questions about the test, but we will give you information. So there is one part of the content that is really about sustainability, and sustainability that you can just study and learn and then answer questions, just like a normal test, I would say. The systems analysis, there you work with a program where you do a systems analysis test, but you also get information about this at home. You can practice a little bit at home, so there you can also come well prepared. Anna, did you feel well prepared when you studied the different things that you were sent?
Yeah, I think what the university gives is the right amount of information needed for the exams. But in my case, for example, I've never had system analysis, so I was a little bit afraid of how it would look like, and given the information, I wasn't sure if I had enough. So I just Googled for introduction about system analysis, and that was really helpful for me.
Yeah, and also I think that when you feel uncomfortable, you can always, of course, get your own information more, but the information that the university sends you should be enough.
Yeah, for sure.
And also, we often get the question, how difficult is the selection? But I think that your chances to get in are very good. If you prepare well, if you're motivated, if you prepare well for the test, and if you do well in your motivation also in your CV, if you're well fit for the program, then your chances of getting in are really good.
Yeah.
Shalila asks, does the grade matter with admission? Yes, your high school grades do matter. They're part of all the components that are that we select you on, though they're only a component. So they're not. They don't determine necessarily if you are entering or not. The grade of the test is also important that you're doing with us. And all together, if you look at the different components, so the cognitive tests, the motivation, the grades, and your CV, all together will determine your position. And then the first 160 will be allowed in. Also, then if students, for one reason or the other, decline their invitation, we will, of course, continue. So often it's, when you really look at who gets in, it's not just until 160, but often we count a little bit further because some students will decline, and then we go to 161, 162, etc. Okay, Lilia asks, when do we get to choose between the 4 tracks? So in the third period in year 1, this is where you select your first course on the track. And as I just said, each track has 1 course that is already in the first year. So technically, that's when you choose. But you will always take 2 courses at once. And next to this particular course is a free elective. So what we see is that students often choose 2 out of those 4 courses so that they still have the freedom to choose between 2 of the different tracks. And you really start the track in your second year. And how did you feel about that, Anna?
Yeah, the first year I used it to experience a little bit what the different tracks were. That's why I did the first obligatory course of the societal transformations track and business and innovations. And then when I had to choose, I decided to go for business and innovations. And yeah, I had a lot of help from the study advisor. So if you're not sure still how it works or how you can choose and how are you certain about these things, the study advisor is there for you to help you answer all these questions and try to figure out what's the best way of doing this.
Yes.
Yeah.
I think that's really important. The study advisor and also the tutor in the first year. In your first year, you will have a tutor that you meet with at a regular basis, and they can also help you choose the track and will kind of guide you through it.
Yeah.
Okay, then Lisanne has a question. Is there a lot of physics in this program? And I would say that really depends on the track that you choose. So if you do energy and resources, there will be a lot more physics than if you choose business and innovation.
Yeah.
Also because energy and resources is really based on the physics. Physics is important for that particular program. But all students will do natural processes and in the first year. And there is part physics in there, partly chemistry. So there is really the basics of natural sciences that we think is important for all students. So it's applicable to the program. Yeah. It's not just the physics from the high school repeated, for instance. It's applicable to the program, but there you will have natural sciences, and this is also what you need in order to continue in the program. So the amount of physics is really dependent. If you choose water, climate, and ecosystems, you will get a little bit more physics, for instance, in global climate change. But that is a little bit more based perhaps on chemistry. So it really depends. There is physics, but dependent on the track, it will be more or a lot less.
Yeah, and I would just like to add that also don't forget that you have your electives. So if there's you think you like a little bit more of physics or maybe some history in your electives, you can always take courses of your interest, and you can combine it with a minor, for example, to have a package of what you think you like.
Yeah, and I think this is really nice about the way that Utrecht University is doing the different programs, that you have these free electives and that you can really do what your interest is in those 6 courses.
Yeah.
And that can be all over.
Yeah.
And this is really nice, I think.
Yeah.
Okay, Sihan asks, if we choose one track, can we attend lectures of other tracks in our free time? So if I look at your question, normally you take 2 courses in one period. So 1 year has 4 periods, and in each period you take 2 courses. So that amounts to 8 courses in 1 year. And following those 2 courses in one period basically amounts to about 40 hours of studying. And some students will do more, some students will do less. Because on average you will spend about 40 hours. So even though it might technically be possible to attend another lecture, and sometimes we also actively invite you to attend other lectures because there may be special speakers, for instance. But technically, often you won't have the time for it because you need to work on your project or you need to prepare for an exam. One of the things that I would like to stress one more time is that it is possible to join 2 tracks. So if you're interested in 2 different tracks, you can do one track as a major and one track as a minor. And then you also do combine 2 different tracks. And there's also quite a few students that do that. Do you have anything to add?
No. No, actually.
But there's also, for instance, if you have a broad interest, there's also sometimes lectures in the evening that everybody can attend to. And so there are definitely more and extra activities beyond your own program that to kind of satisfy your curiosity. Okay. Uday asks, should I be strong in chemistry for water, climate, and ecosystems? So I think I like to answer that with that it should have your interest. If you had chemistry in high school, that should definitely be good enough. If you did not have chemistry in high school, then it is doable. There are students that do it, but that requires quite a lot of work because then you really need to acquaint yourself with the basics of chemistry. So there, I would say that it is possible, but if you had chemistry in high school, it is definitely a lot easier.
Yeah, the first course of the chemistry, the water, climate, and ecosystems is chemistry of the earth, and that is really chemistry based.
Okay. And then we have one more question from Mirta, and she asks, are there many students who leave this program in the first year? And if they do, what is the reason for it? Is the program too difficult? So actually, there's not that many students leaving the program after the first year. And I think this is partly because the selection students have to study the material already before they come to us. So they really know what they're getting into. And I think that it also really kind of fulfills the wishes of the students. So a lot of the students are interested in sustainability, are interested in finding solutions for sustainability, are interested in this interdisciplinary approach. And I think that this is something that is really, really part of this program, and therefore not many students leave. It could be that some students, we have an advice after the first half a year. So if you didn't get enough study points, then some students do have to leave, but this is not unique to this program. This is basically across the Netherlands. Yeah. So this is the way that the Dutch program works. Do you have anything to add?
Yeah, I do want to say that the program gets more challenging throughout the years. So yeah, if you have the motivation, it won't be hard for anybody. Also, it really lets you also explore your social aspect as a student, because you have time to do work and get acquaintance with all your study mates and create a, yeah, it's your life in Utrecht. If you do global sustainability science, it won't always be study, study, study. You have time to enjoy and have a, yeah, a pleasant student life.
Yes.
Yeah.
So thank you very much. With this, we have just answered the last question that we can do right now.
Yeah.
So if you have more questions, I will just put this on one more time. Please email either the general information, bachelorsign.info or bscinfo.go.uu.nl or students.gss.go.
Which is me.
Yeah, which is Anna. Then you can ask more questions to Anna. So thank you very much for attending, and we hope that we gave you enough information to make your choice. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Bye bye, and good luck with the selection.
And good luck with your choice. Bye.